good evening. Glad you could join me tonight. Last week we talked a little bit at the end of the show about what we're going to talk about this week was ghosts. And I asked you for your questions and your comments about it, and I got a bunch of email to pass those along to you tonight. We're going to talk about some of the things that's happened in ghost hunting. I'm sure you've seen all the television shows, people looking for ghosts and movie cameras, and somehow they always find them. It's amazing. Tonight, you may know more about ghost hunting than you think. You may have already found them. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever gone to a location, maybe it's and the range is wide open here. And I want to hear from you about your experiences in this tonight. You don't have to go to the graveyard. You don't have to go to the scary places. If you want to see them or photograph them, that might be a good idea. But how many times have you ever gone someplace new that you probably had never been before? Or sometimes you go to the same place and this time you had a strange feeling. Or maybe you didn't want to go to start with, and when you got there, you noticed you felt funny, as though you were just uncomfortable and didn't know why. A story in point, a friend of mine who used to live here in Cincinnati, they moved here from another city, and they had a house there. And there underneath the staircase, there was a door that went into the basement, or a storage area maybe. And they got to talking on the day that they moved out of the house. He stopped and closed this closet door. And he said to his wife, "I've never been able to keep that door closed. Since we've been here what? They've been there like 10, 15 years. And they couldn't keep this door closed." And she looked at him and said, "You too?" This door, as they were standing there, he closed it. And as they walked out of the house for the last time, they both stopped, looked at the door, and it opened. And both of them commented to me about it, that they had both had strange feelings, but had never discussed it with each other during the time. It was a busy family, raising kids and going about their business. But every day, he said, I go by and I close that door. I close it before I go to bed, and I get up in the morning. I'd have to close it when I went into the kitchen. And she was doing the same thing 2 or 3 times a day. And come to find out, some friends of theirs, they contacted later, and they said, "We didn't want to tell you. And nobody really wanted to tell you this while you were there. But the people that had that house prior to you there, they had a bad accident under those steps. Apparently someone had died in there or something." Now, you going to another location, and this has happened recently, new condominiums were built. I got a call. "Bill, do you do any exorcisms of ghosts?" I said, "I know about it. Tell me about it." They explained what was happening in their new condominium, just built. Why would it happen? It happened this way. They like to collect certain articles, and they would travel the world finding these articles and bring them home. And apparently what they had done while in London, went to an antique shop and bought some curio of some sort, and it had its own history with it. Have you ever been drawn to a particular item or a particular piece of furniture? Maybe at an auction, or maybe you saw it in a window and you had to have it? Often people are drawn to these objects, and I'm always leery about buying antiques and stuff like this. You have a good chance of bringing them home with you. Have you ever been standing in a room and it got cold? Or you walk into a room somewhere and it's cold in there, colder there than anywhere else in the room, and maybe it can be isolated in one area. Or maybe you're in that room and you feel it. You feel it come into you or come into the room where you are. Huh? In the South, several friends of mine were collecting antiques, and they had a mansion. It was Annabella Mansion and so forth. And the mother tried to have her children stay very fair-skinned, and she gave them arsenic and killed them. It's an accumulative effect, I guess, and it killed the children. And I was asked to go see what I could do about it. The father was still grieving, and they photographed him. They photographed him and the children at different areas around the mansion. You can photograph them. Yeah. I have, and so can you. But there's more to it than that. If you're interested in ghosts or you've had a ghostly experience, I'd like to hear from you tonight. The number is 513-381-3838. Get online, there's lines open. And we're going to talk about ghosts and your experience with them. You may have photographed them and didn't know it. Particularly places that happens. I don't think that going out in the graveyard at night and looking around out there, I don't know of anybody that's ever photographed anything there, but you may have a different story. I want to hear from you. Can you photograph them in the daytime? Absolutely. I have a lot of photographs from people that have taken them during the daytime. On television, though, you have a tendency to see someone with a night vision camera. It's sort of a green color, and they pan it around, and they get reflections, and they go, ooh, there's one. I'm a little leery of that. But can these things be faked? You bet. And it's always good to have them both. That way you know who's faking it, and you've got something to compare it to. So I don't mind either one. The one thing that people now photograph is orbs. These little round objects can be nothing more than dust particles in the air. I'm a little bit leery of them. And instead of calling them entities or ghosts or something, people are fascinated by it. But I particularly am not. You have had experiences. You've been in places where you felt uneasy. You've been in places where you felt somebody watching you. And you've been in places when things stood out or beckoned you. And you either wanted to get close to it or you wanted to get away from it. It has that effect. If you've had any of these experiences, I'd like to hear from you tonight. And particularly, there are a lot of people that have come in contact with ghosts prior to the death of a family member or prior to a tragedy of some sort. Something forewarned them. Are they there? Yes. Are we in a multidimensional thing? You bet we are. And you're a part of it tonight, right here. Your phone calls, lines are lit up. We'll get to your phone calls right after this. We'll take a pause in the action. Come right back with your ghost stories. Good evening. Bill Boshears tonight in the Scizone talking about ghosts, taking your phone calls. Let's go right away to Thomas. Thomas, you're on the air. Go ahead, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Bill Boshears.
Yes, sir.
I have an interesting concept I'd like to talk to you about.
Okay.
It has to do with spirit world.
Uh-huh.
Have you ever, people want to see ghosts or are trying to see them,
Yeah.
and they are spirits. You need to see them with spiritual eyes. Okay?
I don't know what
And
that is.
if someone says, what is my spiritual eyes?
I was going to say that.
Okay. If you ever have a dream, many people have,
Profound. Go ahead.
in your dream you can see, you can hear, you can speak. Those are your spiritual eyes. They operate even when you're awake. Some people can actually see spirits. Some people are more attuned than others. But all of us dream. All of us have the capability. What do you think of that?
I don't agree with it, but that's okay. I do believe, however, that it is an altered state. I don't believe that it's in a dream state that you coined. I think the dream state comes from the REM area of your brain, or the REM cycle, and it's nothing more than a hypnagogy. If you were at that level, seeing things, ghosts or whatever, you would have to have a real interesting approach to walking around. I don't think many people do that.
How many do? You're right.
And I'll be real honest with you, I don't know that it's possible in the sense that you're seeing it with that kind of action. And I think what threw me was the dream state. If you had said to me, someone who is in an altered state or at a slower state, I would have understood it. But when you use the word dream, I immediately went to dream state. I understand what you're saying.
Consciousness is just an altered state
Well,
from
there's
dream, from the realm of dreaming.
no, there's different.
They're all still, though, we're all functioning. When you're asleep, your mind's still functioning.
No, it's not.
Oh, it is.
Well, okay, it's functioning, but you are not functioning in a conscious state. You're functioning in a delta or a theta REM sleep. You are not functioning, and it only drops down and comes back up. It doesn't stay there. I don't know.
How about this?
Okay, how about this?
I once found these deer antlers. They're mounted on a plaque,
Okay.
and I brought them into my home.
Mm-hmm.
Even animals have spirits. In the dark, I could see, instead of antlers, I brought this thing in, for a decoration. I could see the whole deer head. I prayed over it. I just said, in Jesus' name, be you released into heaven. And the deer head disappeared. It's just antlers.
Okay.
I think that spirits exist, both of human, animal, fallen angels, and God's angels.
Well, I don't make that delineation. I think there's another dimension, and I think they're there. And I think their being in that other dimension, I think it's all around us. I don't think it's in one place, or that there are hierarchies of good, bad, right. Well, there may be, but it's been my experience, it's kind of a level plateau, and those that are here somehow know that they don't know they're passed over or they're dead, and when you tell them, sometimes they don't want to know it, and they become violent.
I've not encountered, now I have seen demon spirits.
I'll bet.
And angels. But I still think that the human is capable, if one believes. The Bible records they call Samuel a seer. Before they called him a prophet, because you can literally see things. I have been able to look into glass before. And if you will stare at it and kind of open your mind up, blank it out, you start to see images in the glass. And I believe you yourself said you believe in remote viewing. that the human mind is capable of amazing things, did you not?
Absolutely. But that is a different system. Completely.
All things are connected, though, Bill.
Well, I'll tell you what, you seem to know about it. Why don't you tell me how they're connected?
All right, I will try. We do have a specific question. I say that we are creatures that dwell in a flesh body, yet we are also spirit creatures.
That doesn't explain anything to me. That's a lot of nice palavra, but it's not really explaining me the lineage.
All right, how about that there are spiritual forces at work? There is a head that many people believe called God. There are his angels.
Okay.
There are other creatures like fallen angels. Do we all have a spirit? When a spirit's ejected from its body through death, it goes somewhere.
Where does it go?
Ultimately, we all end up either in God's good place or his bad place.
Oh, I see. All right.
But sometimes a spirit, I believe what you're talking about, temporarily wanders. The physical world intermeshes with spirit world. Does that sound...
Well, it's what we've been talking about. It's kind of repetitious and a long way around the horn, but I'm glad you called, Thomas. Thank you so much. Glad to have you, sir.
Thank you for your time, Bill.
We'll take a pause in the action. What do we got? You need a break right now? What do you need? We'll take a pause in the action and come right back with your phone calls. We'll get to Shay and Muffin and yours right here in the Scizone tonight. Thank you for joining me. Oh, man. Bill Bouchier is here tonight talking with you about ghosts that you may have or your opinions, like Thomas. Let's go to Shay. Shay, you're on the air, sir. Go ahead.
Hello.
Yes? Shay, listen to me.
Hello.
Shay, don't watch TV. Talk to me.
I believe that I have the power. I have the power to void out evil spirits.
You have the power to void off evil spirits?
Yes.
How did you get that power?
It's from God.
Oh, okay. Did you just come in and say, here's some evil power protection kind of stuff? How do you do that?
No, actually a couple of bad things that happened to me in my life. I had a lot of supernatural things that occurred.
Uh-huh.
And God, I guess he decided to protect me a little bit more because he's seen how evil was pursuing me.
Wow.
And I was just wondering, is there any haunted houses or anything around close where, maybe I could probably test out my power?
You know what? We may find some before tonight's out here, Shay. I appreciate it. Thank you. We'll let you know. Just stick around. If we get some, we'll holler at you. How's that?
All right.
Got you. Thank you. See there, we've already got somebody trying to help somebody with a haunted. You got a haunted house? Shay's wants to get in. She's got this ability, see, to put this whammy on these and send them packing. So you get in there. Let's go to 4. Let's go to Muffin. Muffin, you're on the air.
I have a haunted house, but it's not like what people basically think is a haunted house.
What is it basically like?
Well, have you ever heard of Sears-built houses are notorious for ghosts?
Have I ever heard of, what is it, Sears?
Sears and Roebuck years ago, they used to sell plans in their book for people that worked on the railroad or anyone.
Oh, I've heard.
With their own house built from the ground up.
Okay, go ahead.
Are notorious for ghosts.
Really?
There's a website, Sears.com, where you could go on and look it up and see that the ghosts always want the houses to be put back into the original state.
Whoa.
I've always, wherever I moved at, I always had to walk into the house before anybody else and get the feel of it because it was always remnants of ghosts left.
Yeah.
Always been my problem since a kid.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Before you go, let me ask a question.
Yeah.
What kind of, this is exactly what we're talking about tonight. What kind of feelings did you have?
You always feel a presence, but you don't know quite what. And as I walk through the house, I can tell you who was there before. I
Okay.
can tell you, like the house I'm living in now,
Uh-huh.
I knew it was a family that did not want to leave, the first set. But I knew that something had happened in the basement because there was a feeling of, I'm not going down there.
Okay.
And it took a long time for me to feel comfortable, but actually I had to tear down a wall, a partition, and paint the whole basement white.
Well, I was in a home in Green Hills that had that kind of feeling in the basement. And it was a home that was used during slave times. And there were some people that had died there. And the Underground Railroad used some areas nearby there, and it was a part of it.
Well, mine wasn't like that.
Ah, okay.
What happened was there was a couple who lived in the hills of Kentucky. It was an older man, his wife, and they had one son. And he moved the family to the city. When my first day here, I took off from work, and I heard these kids playing outside. And I kind of smiled about it because it was in the summertime. It was if they were by a pool. But when I got up, there were no children outside, and there's no public pool around here. But there was one over 30 years ago. Then where my bedroom is, as I looked out the door into my little small foyer area, I see the man who originally had this house built.
Have you ever photographed any of this?
Excuse me?
Have you ever photographed or taken pictures of these things?
No, because I don't get into it like that. I know what it is. It's just something that happens. But I totally described him to a neighbor of mine before she passed away, and she told me who it was. And then later I described the wife, and I said something happened to the son. He died early, which he was in a car accident. He was in his 20s.
I see.
And what he wanted was me to put the house back the way it was. I found out that the wife had flowers all around the house, and the house was the prettiest house due to the flowers on the street.
Did you do that, by the way?
Excuse me?
Did you do that?
Yes, I did. I had to, because I had to get him out of here.
Oh, okay. All right.
And once I put everything back, I was able to modernize the house, but only very little. I had to use modern things that had an old feel.
I see.
And they eventually left, but there was someone else that I don't know if he lived next door, but he lived on this street, and he stays in my living room. And it's a certain area on my couch, where my couch is by this window. It'll be real dark in there, and you can't see. And then all of a sudden, you'll be able to see light in there.
You ought to photograph that. You really should.
It's like I said, it's not that big of a deal for me to go through all of that.
Well, it must be, because you're remembering very in high force detail, lady.
I'm still living in the house.
Oh, well.
And see, I've always had this problem ever since I was a little kid. I was able, whenever I move into a home, I have to go through it and then see what's going on.
Okay.
And I will probably never lose that ability, but I know what it is, so I move on to the next thing. Sometimes there was a building across the street from me where I was glad they tore it down because it had a history. It was used as a bar and a small motel. When the train tracks were there, the guys used to get off from work off the train and get tickets to go into this little rooming house / bar and wait for the train to come back. They would stay there, but it was somebody that hung themselves in there. Somebody was shot and killed. And then there was a guy that stayed up on the top floor, used to sit out on the roof and wave at people. Well, I never knew this because it happened way before I even moved here. But the neighbor told me, I told her he's watching TV. And the daughter actually ran from me, and she said he was kind of crazy. He was nice, but he used to watch TV constantly. And he sat up in that chair, and I said, I'll be glad when they tear that building down, because it was just an uncomfortable feeling. And they tore the building down, and it was okay.
Muffin, I got to go to break, but I'm glad you got through it, kiddo. Thank you. Right here in the Scizone, Bill Boshier is taking your call. There's a line open. Jump in. Shay and Muffin are gone. We'll get to the rest of you as soon as we can right here in just a minute. The telephone number. There it is. Bill Boshears back in the Scizone with you tonight. Let's go right away to Gary. Gary's on the cell phone. Gary, you're up. Go ahead.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I owned a house,
Yes.
and it was very, very haunted. I'm seriously considering writing a book about it because I have so many stories.
Do you have any pictures?
I'm sorry?
Do you have any pictures?
Yes.
Oh,
I
great.
have two.
Oh, okay. That's enough.
I have one of a friend of mine sitting on a love seat, and right next to him, you can see where somebody's sitting next to him.
Oh.
You can't see the person sitting next to him, but you can see the indentions in the back and the bottom of the love seat.
Okay. Okay.
I have another picture where when I bought the house, I didn't even believe in God. And there was a cross in every room, and I took all the crosses off of the wall
Sure.
because I didn't believe in God.
Okay.
Well,
How-
a couple years later,
How's that?
after this stuff started happening, I took a picture of a few friends of mine in the kitchen where just happened to be behind that. That's where the cross used to hang.
Okay.
And
Are you telling me that after you took those crosses down, you had a change of heart?
no,
It didn't work out for you, huh? Okay.
no, that's a whole other story.
I'll bet it is. I'll bet.
But yeah, there was a picture. My kitchen was painted green, and there was a very light space where
Yeah.
the cross was. And
Yeah.
it took me a little while to realize that when the picture came out, where the light space was is where the cross was hanging.
Whoa.
I can't prove that, of course.
Hey,
But,
it's a good story and it's yours.
yes. Oh, I could go on and on.
Well, I can't let you
By
do that.
6 different people, psychics, mediums, and such kind of people. There was a girl child buried in my basement.
Oh my
A
goodness.
dirt floor.
Oh my goodness.
And I was also told by all of them, do not dig it up.
You didn't dig it up. You just left it alone.
Absolutely not.
Did you sell it? Or did you sell the house that way with?
Yes.
With a corpse in the basement.
Apparently.
Oh.
I don't know. I
Oh.
didn't dig it up.
I don't blame
know.
you. I don't blame you a bit. I don't blame you.
I mean, I was told I would be opening up, a whole nother can of worms.
I would believe so.
And that's putting it mildly.
Gary, I appreciate your call, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Let's go to Don. Don, you're on the air.
Hey, good evening, Bill.
Good evening.
I'm glad you was talking about the slavery thing a while ago. Summer 2005, toward the end,
Okay.
my wife and I, she would go to work, and then when I got off, I went down to pick her up, right down there off of Red Bank Road.
Okay.
And I got down there early one day because we got done early at my place. I love Cincinnati history, and I have a tendency to go to old cemeteries and see who's buried there that lived here of great significance, importance, historically wise. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And I went into this one cemetery, and I've always seen it. I thought, well, let's see who's buried there of any importance. Went into one, it's just one little road going into here, and then you turn around and come out the same way you come in. Went in a second one. When I came out, I'm honest to God, I was being choked. I mean, it was just like I couldn't get my air. I thought, what the heck is wrong with me, When I
Yeah.
got closer down to work where she lived at, worked at rather,
Yeah.
I was fine by then. I was able to breathe well. No bad heart, no blood pressure or anything like this. I went back and did a study on that cemetery. It was started out as a slave cemetery.
Uh-huh.
You're going to have to excuse me, I got a cold right now. But I just wonder if there was any significance to that, being a slave cemetery.
I don't know. It was your
Bitterness.
cemetery.
See what I'm saying?
I hear you. I don't know that it's a slave kind of thing. I don't know the significance.
I mean, we're not talking about Dracula, Frankenstein, all that junk.
No.
I'm talking about something that was really, really evident. I mean, even brought a sweat to the windows in the car. I thought, what the heck is going on here? I didn't quite put it that way, but it kind of scared me.
Well, you might want to go back and...
No, I don't want to go through it again.
Oh,
It was
okay.
creepy.
Well, all right.
I mean, it was downright eerie. I thought maybe it had something to do with slavery.
It could have. I have no idea. I really don't. I've never heard a story quite like that, but
was
they got in
creepy.
the car with you.
But I just wanted to run that by you because,
No, I'm glad you
relates to
did.
the slavery incident.
Don, do you believe that the ghost got in the car with you?
I don't know. It was happened while just as I was leaving the cemetery, pulling out on Red Bank.
Well, maybe he needs to ride somewhere.
Well, maybe. You know, I thought he ain't get one with me anymore. That's for darn
I don't blame you.
sure.
Hey, Don, thanks for the call. I appreciate it.
Sure.
The number is 381-3838. You may have had an incident happen. You may have had a story. Give me a call. I'd like to hear from you tonight about it. Let's go to Sally, I think. Sally, are you there?
I am.
Thank you.
How are you tonight, Bill?
I'm wonderful, working on the rest of it.
Well, I can well imagine that. I can also say that when you started in with your intro of have you had that cold feeling?
Yeah.
Have you been in some place where you felt a presence in the room?
Yes.
Have you had things happen that you just couldn't explain? And then, you know, your next caller just kind of was a letdown. I'm sorry.
Well,
all those things happen. I walked into a room and there's something there. There's no one else around, but there's someone there.
Ooh.
And it feels like they're staring at you. The hair on the back of my neck goes up. I get cold chills and goosebumps. It's just an eerie feeling. Well, it gets even eerier when all of a sudden the temperature drops like 10 degrees.
yeah. Sure does.
My brother had a trailer, and I went to visit him, and I experienced this phenomena, and he explained that apparently there was a woman who had lived there before him who had died under mysterious circumstances in a station wagon with a vacuum cleaner hose wired on one end and duct taped on the other end to the partially open window. Turns out that she was pregnant, and there's some other details that are unnecessary.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He says that she lived there before him, and she continued to live there, and he said he didn't mind that she lived there because she would turn the lights out.
I've heard that. I've heard stories like that when people sort of enjoyed them because they were like friendly in the family.
Well, but my brother got married, and the ghost didn't like his wife at the time. And it drove her nuts. And eventually, after they split up and my brother moved back into the trailer...
The ghost came back?
No, the ghost was there the whole time.
Oh. But is he with the ghost now, or his wife's gone?
His wife's gone.
But
his first wife is gone.
But he's now with the ghost?
No, this has been decades ago.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe he kind of had, it's a family show, but sometimes it gets a little kinky over there, and I didn't know whether he was, kind of...
No. She liked the middle bedroom. There's a bedroom on the end and then another one in the middle.
Yeah.
And she would come out into the living room, and you could feel when she passed, you'd feel this temperature change.
And you felt it?
Yeah, you felt it. It was noticeable. No, we didn't take pictures of it.
Gee, I wish you had. I'd like to have seen that.
When my brother went on vacation, I dog sat for my parents, and my parents stayed with my brother for a while. And
I love your story, but I got to go to break. They're throwing rocks at me out of there. I appreciate the call.
They can throw rocks at you, but she did turn on the lights right before I would come in the door.
That's my kind of ghost,
and
kind of friendly.
she would turn them off if I left them on all night.
Good for you. Hey, appreciate the story. Thank you, dear. Let's take a pause in the action right here. These stories get a little long, so put them together. We'll get as many as we can. Anyway, thank you all for calling. 381-3838. By the way, before I forget it, you want to go to WBQC and register for, we've got some tickets to the Bee Movie. It'll be a fun thing. It'll be a lot of fun. The Bee Movie is out. Honey, the honey just got funny. You'll like it. It's a good movie. Funny stuff. Join us this coming Thursday. And we got free tickets for you if you want to jump in. We'd love to have you. Just go to WBQC.com and register, and we'll get them to you. Anyway, let's go right back to the phone and take as many phone calls as we can, as quick as we can. Let's go to Ted. Quickly, you're on the air, Ted. Go ahead. Hello, Ted.
No, I'm here.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I'm here.
Jesus, yeah, you're there, all right.
Yeah, I'm here. Growing up, I'm the youngest of a large family,
Uh-huh.
and there was always something we thought was a ghost. Mom didn't believe until she finally had an experience with it, and Dad was the same way.
Uh-huh.
Very skeptical.
Very.
And some of the ways that we've done is it grabbed the cover at the bottom and would pull. It'd be a tug of war trying to keep cover on us, and it would get worse before like there'd be a death in the family.
Oh, I see.
And one day we come home from church, and Dad was sitting out on the front porch reading a newspaper, and he looked at Mom. He just started chuckling and shook his head. He said, "Dory," he said, "I've always thought it was just y'all's nerves acting up. But," he said, "I heard the noise in the kitchen. I figured as one of the boys got up, went to tell them they had to fix their own breakfast, and he watched the pan come out from under the cabinet and set itself on the stove." That's when I got interested, and I started reading a lot of things. And then when I worked the medical field, during codes and things, as people would pass, it would seem like the air would get extremely crystal clear.
Yeah.
And it would be unusual, except for a few of them that didn't have things completely finished. I'd be going in to get the body ready for the morticians to pick up. Next thing you know, body and soul would be recaptured. They'd live till family members did get there, talk with them, and then after they'd leave, shortly they'd go ahead and pass over.
In other words, they would be resuscitated back during your presence.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, I got picked at it enough because they finally got to where I'd come in and they'd need somebody prepared. They'd say, "Oh Lord, there's Ted. Don't you dare bring him back."
You know, Ted, I know not a couple. I know one particular in Texas, a mortician who it is now standard procedure to talk to the body because they have resuscitated people back to life.
For me, I'd be doing my work and I'd always sing. And like I'd say, most time if their family got there, it's like they got their stuff finished.
I see.
And as you talked about the ghost hunters and everything, I used to watch something called on Sci-Fi. I think it's called like Ghost Chasers.
Yeah, something like that. Hey, I appreciate it, Ted. I got to run. I got a bunch of calls to get through, but I appreciate your story. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Let's go to Dave. You're on the air, sir. Go ahead. Hello, Dave.
Hello.
Are you there, sir? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm here. I just wanted to say I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous being on the air, I guess. I just wanted to say there is weirdos out there.
Yeah, there probably is, and you're probably the weirdest. Angie,
Yeah.
you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi. I have a couple of incidences here. I actually have a ghost in my house. My husband and I have lived in here for probably,
Good.
4 years.
Uh-huh.
He actually sits there and watches us sleep at night. So if I get up in the middle of the evening, we actually walk past him.
Wow.
My husband and I have both seen it, as well as my 4-year-old. My 4-year-old's also mentioned many times that there's voices in the house. And what's funny about it is I have about 6 pictures, and 5 of them I have white orbs. They're probably, I don't know, probably about the size of about an inch big on the pictures. And then I have one where my new son that I have, he's only a year old. He's talking to one of my girlfriends, and there's this huge, on my digital camera, on the one side, it's all completely like a yellow-white. And there was no lights on, there's no reflection that could have possibly been there. And actually, I have it on my MySpace webpage. It kind of freaked us out because it's like the second time I've caught that. I caught it at my mother-in-law's house as well. But we have a lot of coincidences here at our house, and we always run into it. And I'm also a practicing medium, so I guess I attract a lot of that stuff too.
If you're practicing medium, you're doing just that. Hey, I appreciate the call. Thank you, dear.
All right.
I've got Nicole on 3. Go ahead. Nicole, would you please turn your television down?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm watching TV too. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go right ahead.
Okay. Yes. Ever since I was 11, I've been having like the sleeps where you get up. Well, I'll get up, and my body will be stiff. I can't talk, and I can't move. Basically, have you ever had one of those?
Uh, I can't say that I have, but I feel that way just out of old age. But I appreciate your call. Thank you. Let's go to break. We'll take a pause, the action, come right back and get your phone call. There's a line open. Jump in. We'd love to have you right here in the Scizone. I'm Bill Low. Cheers. By the way, if you want to email me, it's scizone@wbqc.com. And if you go to wbqc.com, you can register to get some free movie tickets for you and a friend. This coming Thursday, jump in at 7 o'clock at the Showcase Cinemas in Springdale. Join me. We'll have some fun. Let's go right back to Robin. You're on the air.
Yes, good evening, Bill.
How you doing?
Fine. I wanted to say something real quickly. I don't know if anyone's brought it up yet tonight. I have never seen a ghost or anything like that myself, but one thing that I feel that animals are very sensitive to what's around us as well, along with people.
I've heard that.
And I'll tell you something that happened to me a number of years ago. My father died. The night before he died, he came over for a while. My mother was there too, and our dog, I had a cockapoo, who we'd had for years. We'd had since I was in high school. And my dog loved my dad and me equally. I mean, he was our dog.
Sure.
For some reason, he would not go anywhere near my dad. And I even picked him up and tried to take him over because my dad was taking a short trip the next day. And I wanted to go over and, wanted to see him before he left. But my dog would not go anywhere near him and even climbed out of my arms to stay away from him.
I've heard that they're very sensitive like that.
They are very sensitive. And my mother talked about that later, that somehow there was something around him or something, some kind of presence there that our dog could sense, but we couldn't sense it.
I appreciate it, Robin. Good story. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go to Charles. You're on the air.
Yes, how you doing?
Doing well, sir.
The call that you had about maybe 3 calls ago.
Yeah. You're on the air, Bill. Go ahead. Bill? Hello, Bill.
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air, sir.
Yes, sir. I think everyone's kind of missing the whole point here.
What are they missing? Go ahead.
Well, nobody realizes, but we really have, let's see, we have 50 of the largest haunted houses in the world, plus we have 3 larger ones in the Washington, D.C. They're called the Residency of the Governor or the President, and we have the House of Representatives and the House of the Senate. If they're not haunted, I don't know what is.
That's very clever. I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. You have a good sense of humor. I like that.
But I just wanted to throw a little levity in there.
You did a good job. I really appreciate it. I'm rolling on the floor, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Let's go to Monica on 4. Monica, hello?
Hi, how are you?
I'm phenomenally well, considering things. Go ahead.
I got a story. It's actually not about where I live now. It's actually about my parents' house in Barbersville, Kentucky.
I know right where it's at.
You know about that?
I did a story about a house there years ago, but go ahead.
They had, it's my dad's grandma, his grandma and his grandpa and his great-grandma died in the house. And everybody, that ever stayed there, they're like, it's haunted, it's so scary, and I never believed it. And then I laid down to go to bed one night, and in the middle of the night I woke up, and it felt like somebody was sitting on the bed next to me, and I put my hand behind me, and I could feel the dip in the bed.
Uh-huh.
And then in the middle of the night, you can smell smoke that's coming from the basement
up
the steps. And my dad said my grandpa used to get on there and smoke.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you. The stories keep coming, and the ghosts keep evolving. Will we ever know all of them? I don't think. Some of you are in touch with them, communicating. And if that's the case, use it. I think they're trying to communicate. I don't know why. Maybe they need to get across. Might be something to find out. If you do get some pictures, you can email them to me at Scizone, WBQC.com, and we'll put them on here. We'll put them up. If you've got pictures, now don't send them to me and go, I want that back. It's the only one I had. I ain't doing that. Send me a copy of it, Scizone, there, it's up there, at WBQC.com. Love to have it, and we'll put them up. We'll start our rogues gallery. We'll put them up of all the psychic and all the, I'd love to have some. And we'll put them on TV, and you get credit for it. We'd love to put your name on there and so forth, so we know all about it, and tell us a little bit about where it was shot, who's in it, and what we're supposed to look for or see, and we'll do our best to get it up. Looking forward to it. And if you're out there and you go to WBQC.com and register, the B movie, like to see you and join me. It's a fun movie. It's got Jerry Steinfeld and Renee Zellweger. I think that's going to be a funny movie. I know it is. Join me here next week, same time, same place, right here in the Scizone, WBQC, and you can tell your friends about us, and they can see it on Google. Just come to the website and click on it, you'll see it, and then we've archived them on Google for those that want to be a part of it. Thank you again. Email me with your calls or questions, whatever. We'll get to it. Scizone at WBQC.com. Thank you, and good night.